When I was retired a decade ago, most people started their retirement budget with a number. I need $1 million, or I'll withdraw 4% from my portfolio, or I'll spend 70 to 80% of what I used to spend before I was retired. As an early retiree, I knew I needed more than a rough rule of thumb. In the next 7 minutes, I'll show you what I did and how you can know your expenses from the bottom up. Stay tuned. Now, here's the problem with the rule of thumb numbers. First, many people think they'll need 70 to 80% because they think they'll stop spending as much once they retire. But sometimes its spending goes up, especially for early retirees when you're traveling more and you're paying for your pre-Medicare health care. The second problem with a rule of thumb is letting your portfolio size decide what you spend rather than your real life telling you what you need to spend. I didn't follow that 4% rule because I was waiting for 70 for Social Security, and I knew I needed to withdraw a little bit more than 4%. Here's exactly how I built my retirement budget from the bottom up and how I still update it every year. Now, you start with your fixed monthly and annual expenses from your checking account. If you have a mortgage or a rent check, property taxes, insurance premiums, car payments, any other regular recurring expenses. Next, figure out your variable but predictable spending, your groceries, utilities, gas, dining out, charitable giving, and gifts. Pull 12 months of your bank and your credit card statements. If you have any miscellaneous categories, as I did in 2015, take time to sort them out so you're using real numbers, not guesses. Now, my wife and I keep track of our spending by using a few credit cards, which we pay off every month, but we download those transactions into Quicken, so spending is sorted automatically into the right budget categories. Quicken allows me to sort the generic food and dining from the credit card, for instance, into essential spending on groceries and discretionary spending on dining. Set up those categories and use them consistently. If you don't want to use Quicken or another aggregator, look for a credit card that allows you to download the transactions into your own spreadsheet. Your retirement spending will also include some irregular big ticket items like a new roof or major home repairs or a big trip or a sewer line replacement last year. If you can forecast them, go ahead. Some people like Fritz Gilbert of the Retirement Manifesto set up sinking funds for these categories, which makes sense from an accounting standpoint. But I use a 3-bucket strategy with 3 years of spending in bucket 1 and 5 years of spending in bucket 2. In my first decade, the bucket strategy has given me the wiggle room to handle these expenses without a dedicated sinking fund. You do need to plan for healthcare costs. You have to consider what it's going to cost for COBRA or the Affordable Care Act before Medicare, but also estimate what you will need to spend on Medicare and Medigap and drug coverage after 65. Quicken has a budget feature, and you can develop a budget right there. And there are reports to review month-to-month spending or spending over time. But I found it easier to download data from Quicken into a simple budget spreadsheet with a rolling multi-year moving average for the categories. I posted a sample of that spreadsheet on my Google site. Look for a link in the description below. Download it, start your own spreadsheet, plug in your numbers, and you've got a DIY retirement budget. Now, after a decade of DIY retirement, I can tell you the spending doesn't stay flat and consistent. You have to manage it by knowing your expenses. About a year ago, I showed this pie chart with 7-year averages. Housing, even without a mortgage, were about 26% when you include utilities, home repair, home insurance, and property taxes. Auto and travel expenses made up about 9% of our average over the 7-year period. Food was 15%. Health, medical insurance, and copays was 17%. Federal and state taxes were 10%. and all other made up the other quarter of our monthly budget. I updated this pie chart for 2026 budget. An inherited house that needed repairs plus our own house with normal repairs pushed house up to a third of our spending. Auto and travel rose to 11%. Food stayed consistent at about 15%. On the bright side, now that we're both on Medicare, healthcare costs have dropped from 17 to 11%. Taxes are at 12%, and all other expenses make up 18%. Once you know exactly what you will spend, the next question is, where are you getting the money now that you're no longer working? Well, that's where you have to look at your fixed income, your Social Security, and then what you will need to withdraw from a portfolio that has been invested simply and cheaply. We'll do that next video on this playlist of DIY retirement basics. Remember, I am not a financial professional. I have no initials after my name, so take these as entertaining ideas from one educated DIY retiree who figured it out in this past decade. Always do your own due diligence. Seek out a professional if you need one. If this helped, will you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe? It'll help new viewers find this channel. And I'll see you for tip number 2 on investing simply. Thanks for watching.